Am I the one doing the introduction, or Waliyu, do you want to go ahead with the introduction?
Yeah, anyway, it's fine.
Segment? Okay. All right. So I am Bunmi Jasmine Omeke, as you all know, or as some of you know. I'm a lawyer, I'm an HR practitioner, I'm also a safety advocate. And with me, I have our co-host, Waliyu Adegoke, your popular safety moments with Waliyu on health and safety. Is my safety partner on this discourse today. I'm sure you know where you are, but I would reiterate that you are in the comeback series of workers' mental health and safety. And today we'll be talking about coping with different behaviors in the workplace. You want to find out what behaviors, how to cope with those different behaviors, and you want to also know how someone else is also coping with yours. And so it's going to be as participatory as possible.
Yes,
okay,
I'm fully ready now.
Miss Yesterday just said something. I'm trying to say a comment here. She said someone just tried to hit my car. Your program should cure the madness in Lagos. So, that's very true. Yes. So this kind of program should really cure the madness in Lagos. I'm going to say something afterwards. A lot of people are dealing with mental health issues, yeah, and they don't know. Is it that you have someone who is dealing with one that you have to include in what you do? Work still has to go on, despite finding such people in the work environment. And then with yourself, you might not know, you might be going through some stressors, what Waliyu is going to be explaining to us, that might be causing some kind of behaviors that is affecting other people, around you and even in the workplace. So you see why this topic is very important. It affects all of us. All of us that are here. There's no one that doesn't need it. There's no one. Everybody needs it.
Inclusive.
Even if you're not in the workplace, as long as you're attending to clients, you drive on Lagos Road. You need it, especially in this Nigeria.
Need it, really. You need
Everybody
it,
is normal. I don't want to say the other side. Everyone is normal, Waliyu.
Everybody has what he's going through. We are in this season that so many things is happening in this world of today, and we can't hide that fact that there are a lot of stressors that make people to behave in a particular way. So I think it's fine that we just start the formal introduction. You've done the introduction already. Mrs. Bunmi Jasmine Omeke, a lawyer, a legal practitioner, a safety advocate, and a human resource manager. So she's a 3-in-1. But me, I'm just one. I'm just a safety advocate. So I'm passionate about that. So everyone, you're welcome to this episode of Workers' Mental Health and Safety Series. Like my colleague just said, there are a lot of behaviors that we have in the workplace. Our focus is on the workplace, and at the same time, we will agree that such can also be taken to our various homes too. So we'll be talking about behaviors, understanding what behavior really means, and what are the various kind of behaviors that people portray in their lifetime as they go on, and what are the normal behaviors, and how do we understand
I'll jump on that a bit. I'll jump on that a bit, Waliyu. I want to ask a question that will bring about that introduction, because I believe there's a lot to I don't want this to just be like we are lecturing you. I want it to be as as participatory as possible. When I mean participatory, I want it to be as practical. That's the word. I want to make it as practical as possible. So Waliyu, talking about behaviors, when people say behavior, people always think, oh, I know how the next person should behave. There should be a way someone should behave in this particular place or at this particular time. I have a definition of that perfect behavior. Is there anything like perfect behavior?
No, there is no perfect behavior. But firstly, we need to understand what behavior really means in terms of definition. And we said definition basically in simple terms is the manner in which an individual acts or functions. The manner at which an individual acts or functions. But we understand that there are a lot of things that determines what a normal behavior is. There is a normal behavior, there's an abnormal behavior, but there's no perfect behavior. A behavior that you think that is not perfect in your own sense, in another sense can be a perfect behavior. So that's why we said, let us not use the word perfect. There's no perfect behavior, but there's a normal behavior and there's an abnormal behavior. So many things determine what a normal behavior is, irrespective of where you come from. But let us first look at the various places where individuals come from. For example, I'm a Nigerian. Like on Monday, most of us, the official, we that will go to office, we dress corporate wise, you know. Imagine someone coming to the office because he went to India and he studied in India. And in India, you can wear robe. You know, the man can wear a robe and dress somehow, you know, like an attire and put all this decoration. And he's coming to work on Monday and he's dressing that way. You would agree with me that you would think that, is this person okay? I don't think this person is normal. Though that kind of behavior in India, that behavior is normal. It's a normal behavior. But coming down, doing that here in Nigeria, it makes it an abnormal behavior. So there are different characteristics of what can become a normal or an abnormal behavior. But irrespective of what it is, there are some characteristics that you know that covers every other aspect, whether you are from India, whether you're from China, whether you are a Yoruba or Hausa, or whether, as far as you know, in the workplace, we have different kind of people coming together to achieve a common goal. We have different people with different behaviors, with different understanding, different backgrounds that are coming together to work in the workplace. But before I go into what the normal behavior is, before I delve into what characteristics of a normal behavior, I would like Mrs. Bunmi to tell us, though you said I'm going to say it, but I don't want to be the only one talking for a long time. What are those stressors? Are there some things that could affect the way an individual behaves? You know, we live in a world now where there are a lot of issues happening from home, family issues, the issue of COVID-19, the stress people are going through. Are there some things that could affect the way people behave in a particular way?
Definitely, there are stressors that will affect how we behave. From human factors, the way the other person around you behaves also, and the way you react to it is a behavior. There are environmental factors. Like one of our participants just mentioned that Lagos, someone just hit her car, that she needs this program to cure the madness that is happening in Lagos. So imagine those kind of things. You going to your office, having like 3-4 hours in traffic, all those things are stressors, you know. Burnout, you know, feeling that leads to a negative feeling towards your work. When you begin to feel negative towards your work, when you're tired, you're stressed. All those things are stressors. Even marital issues, you know, being a single mom, being a single parent, a single dad or a single mom, whatever it is kind of stressor that can affect the way you behave at work. Even with women, we have hormonal changes. You know, a woman going through a menstrual period and then having to go through delivery and all those things happening in your body all at the same time. You have to be a career woman, you have to attend to the children. Even if you are not a career woman, you are in business or something, you're doing some other things, you're having to multitask. Those things affect the way we behave, you know. And of course, there are some unexpected life events. Things happen like death, sickness, terminal illness, affecting our loved ones or ourselves. Those things are also stressors, you know, that can affect people's behavior in the workplace and even outside the workplace. So a lot of things that even affect people's behavior in the workplace can come outside the workplace and can come from the workplace itself. Although we are focused on the workplace, but as human beings, we are not in one continuum that when we get to work, we have a switch that will just switch us to, okay, this is how to, everything that happens in the workplace affects what happens outside the workplace and vice versa, you know, because we are not machines, we are humans, as in we still carry our emotions irrespective of whatever environment we find ourselves. So there are some stressors that affect us right in the workplace. There could be bad leadership, could be some kind of the job methodology, you know, bad work methodology. When I mean bad work methodology, we'll be talking about even that later, you know, having a difficult boss, you know, having an envious colleague, having the kind of hostile and violent work environment. All those things are stressors that could affect an individual's behavior at work and even outside work. And they're interrelated. Right.
Yeah. I know if I should permit you, you keep telling us on and on and on. So we need to work with time. We have one of our participants that indicated that he wants to join. Please, if you are still available, let us know that you're still available so that would add you
Yeah,
to
please do
the
a request
conversation and you will
again.
tell us what you have for us. So the other time I
Yes.
said I wanted to,
Please send a
my
request
colleague
again.
instructed me to talk about what normal behavior should be. What are those characteristics, irrespective of where you come from? What are those characteristics of a normal behavior? And the first characteristic is that for a normal behavior, the person will understand the insight of cause and effect. The person will know that if I do this, this is a consequence. For example, you are you are at the workplace and there was an alarm that there's fire, there's fire, there's fire, and while everybody is running towards the muster point, someone else is standing somewhere and started dancing and playing music, and we could see the fire, and the person is dancing or just seated there and doing something else while he had that there is fire. So now you should understand that for a fire to lose your life. So understanding is we can say the person is actually in his normal state and is practicing a normal behavior. So an abnormal behavior is, let's say for example, we know, okay, let's look at those that are psychotic in nature. You see them going on the way and they'll be smiling and laughing, doing random things. You know, they don't understand what they are doing. They don't understand though these days, if a mad person should see a car coming, I'm very sure he's going to run away. But someone who is really mad will not know what to do. So not understanding the effect of something, the effect of a particular thing is one of the characteristics of an abnormal behavior. The second one is that his perception of reality is such that he knows who he is. When someone knows that, yes, I'm a professional, I'm tall, I'm dark in complexion, I'm working, and every other characteristics, I know myself, I know what I'm capable of, I know what I'm not capable of. That is a normal behavior. And if you look at those that we term as normal behavior, sometimes they don't know who they are. They don't know what they are doing. They don't even know that they exist. It is when after they've undergone some therapeutic intervention, after they've undergone some treatment, that they now understand that in the past few years or few months, they've been behaving a certain way that they are not aware of. So someone who realizes who he is, and that kind of perception of reality is also a characteristic of a normal behavior. So I'll mention one again before we come, so that my colleague will start to discuss about various defense mechanisms that we use in behavior. So before then, we will now go back to the completing part of normal behavior. So the first one, the third one I'm going to mention is that his motivation are purposeful and is in control of himself and his environment. When someone is in control of himself and is in control of his environment, he is in control of what he does, is in control of how he lives his life. He knows that if I plan this way, this is what I'm going to achieve. When someone is in control of his thinking, and not that his emotion gets the other side of him. There is this thing, I don't want to go to religious, there's this particular aspect that we are being told most of the time, that we should always have control over our emotions, having control over ourselves. When you are able to have control over your emotions, you are able to have control over what you do and not get angry unnecessarily. For example, when someone gets angry over a little thing, you will say that person is behaving in an abnormal way. It happens in the workplace. So we should realize those different kind of behaviors and the behavioral patterns and those characteristics. Someone who is not in control of himself is definitely not having a normal behavior. So I will stop with those three and I will take it back to my colleague, so that she will continue with this defense mechanism that people also use in portraying some kind of behaviors. I think we have someone with us. Good afternoon, good evening.
Yes, good afternoon, madam. Yeah, you have a contribution towards what we've been saying, or comment or question?
I joined the program just to contribute my own Like for instance, the behavioral aspect of it, yes.
Yeah.
At times, a personal behavior of a worker can influence performance.
You're
It
very
can
correct.
influence
You're very
performance.
correct.
Yes, it
Affect
depends
performance. Yeah.
on what you know, it's a kind of human factor built into working environment, and at times, uh, it takes you to have a good behavior to work very well, and sometimes for you to work very safely in the workplace, you need to try as much as possible to have what we call safety culture. And you know, having a safety culture depends on your own compliance to
Mm.
the work regulation. It's,
You're very correct.
it's actually so. I'm with
Yeah.
you, ma.
Yeah,
So
thank you.
that's just
You didn't even
Thank
tell
you
us your
so
name.
much.
yes.
You didn't
Oh,
mention your
my name
name.
is Kudirat. Okay, I'm Kudirat Oladipupo Bakinson. I'm HSA
Okay,
officer.
Mrs.
Okay,
Kulira, thank you for your
I see
contribution
your
and really
angle.
appreciate you. You're very
Backing
correct. You're
Sinola
very
Gold.
correct.
Yes. She's able
Yes,
All
to
ma.
right.
link, the issue of behavioral behavior to the issue to safety in the workplace, how it can affect
And
productivity
productivity in
in
the
the
workplace.
workplace. Yes.
Yes.
So I think that's a very, very salient point. Thank you so much for your
Yeah.
contribution. So that we can allow
Thank you.
others to come
Thank you
in.
so
You can
much,
help
ma.
us press the thank you so much. You can help us press the exit sign on your life.
All
Thank
right.
you. Okay.
Thank you
So
and God bless you. We
Waliu
appreciate
has
that.
been
We
able
will appreciate
to
others too to join us while we continue the
yeah.
discussion. So over to you, Mrs. Bumi. What are
So
those? There are
yes.
some behaviors that is a reflection of how people try to defend themselves in a particular way or to get over some stressors, like you mentioned. So can you tell us? And is there something like defense mechanisms that is being reflected through behavior?
Yes. Like you said, the characteristics you mentioned of a normal behavior, they are not even, you've not exhausted them actually, because all
Sure,
those things
sure.
form clusters, and I mean, this session is still going to continue and it's deliberate, There are things that as a normal human being, you display. And I asked you a question that if there's anything like a perfect behavior, and you said, well, it depends on, like the answer most lawyers give, it depends on the circumstances of the case. Okay, so the thing is, in my own opinion, there's nothing like perfect behavior, but there's something like normal behavior, and there's something like abnormal behavior. Now, the most important thing for us as humans in the workplace now, when we're talking about safety, in connection with safety, is for us to be able to identify the abnormal behaviors. So when someone
Yes.
has lost touch with those things that you mentioned, those characteristics you've mentioned, then it is something that the colleague or the supervisor has to take cognizance of. They have to be careful of, because that person has moved from being a normal person to being an abnormal person. So while our behavior might not be perfect, might not be, we might not be the best in terms of if you are going to assess a behavior, but there's a normal behavior and there's an abnormal behavior. So the abnormal behavior is a threat to safety and productivity in the workplace. Having said that, having emphasized on that, I would like to go into coping mechanism. If you had read through the awareness I was doing on Instagram and my status on WhatsApp and Facebook, I said something about are you coping with a behavior of your boss, your colleague at work? And if that's the answer, if the answer is yes, someone else is also coping with yours. How? How is that? Yeah, someone is coping with your behavior because, like I said before, there's no perfect behavior. So what are these coping mechanisms? One, we have cases where people deny reality, where there's something has happened and the first reaction is to deny the existence of that thing. is a kind of coping mechanism that they adopt so that they don't go, they don't have mental issues, really. It's a kind of shock absorber that the body takes on, you know. Take, for example, when there's an issue of maybe death, or there's an issue of, or someone who has faced sack at the workplace, have been asked to resign. The first thing you want, the first reaction is, no, it's not possible. Because at that point, that news is very big. It's too big for the heart.
Yeah.
It's too big for his emotions to take. So the first thing he wants to do is
it's too big to accommodate it.
To accommodate it. So you might have exhibited this coping mechanism at one point or the other in your life. It's fine. But when that becomes a kind of behavior, you now develop it into a behavior where you often or always deny the reality. You are beginning to move towards what we call an abnormal behavior. That's not to stigmatize. That's to say you need to be aware. You know, when things happen, there's a way to, I mean, the body responds by coping with that thing. But when it goes for a very long time, you're in denial of reality for years, then that is beginning to become an abnormal behavior. Because the next person to you, I mean, you denying a reality that is open to all, I mean, becomes something that is really abnormal. Then we have rationalization. Rationalization is like a lower effect of reality, like rationalizing the effect of a thing. We all do that, you know. Maybe not to look stupid. Nobody wants to come to the workplace and look like they don't know what they are doing. I remember in one of the sessions that we had, someone gave an example of an IT department that when there's an issue with the network, you know, they know that this thing is a very serious issue that could affect the operation of the organization entirely. So they would just tell the other departments that are asking, inquiring what is going on, it's affecting them. They say it's just a small thing, don't worry about it. You know, it's a way of, at that point, it is productive because it's a way of reducing the tension, dosing the tension, and everyone is still moving on with the belief that it's not that bad. You know, it's the kind of word that we use in our everyday life that we say it's not that deep. Even when it's very deep to the bottom, we say it's not that deep. So it's a way of coping with that bad news, you know. But when you rationalize over a very long period of time, instead of facing the problem and resolving it, even within the workplace, it affects productivity. And of course, if you are taking on that personality, it affects your behavior at work, which of course affects productivity. Another one is fantasy. You know, daydreaming. People daydream when they are not performing up to their expectations. Maybe you've had high expectation, by all standards, you feel that you should have been at this particular place. In this period of your life, you should be in this particular place. So the first thing, what comes to you to be able to cope with that particular situation or that particular disappointing stage of your life that you are is to fantasize, daydream, think about you being the manager of your workplace, act like the manager, maybe sit on the manager's seat for 5 minutes, sit in his office and sit on his chair, take over his books and his laptop and all that. So, you know, when that happens for like 3 months or for like 3 days, that begins to become an abnormal behavior. But if you're able to pull that for like a minute or two and you feel okay with that, it's a kind of coping mechanism. And it's what people, real life situation, is a kind of coping mechanism that people adopt to stay sane, you know, in life because of life events that happen to them. And these things happen in the workplace, something that we should be aware of, even with ourselves as well. So we also have repression. Wally, you want to say something?
Right. I had a comment. Someone said on my WhatsApp here that abnormal behavior. Someone that slide and put fufu in between. Like as an abnormal behavior, someone that took agege bread, opened agege bread and put fufu in between. He said that's an example of an abnormal behavior. That is on the extreme, and I think that is actually a psychotic behavior. So we also have Fred Oster, I also have Fred Oster, Dr. Fred, the host of one of the programs on Nigeria Info. You're welcome. Thanks for being live with us. I hope you could be able to join us. Just send the request and we will allow you to join us. Thank you. So you can continue, Mrs. Bumi. And after you concluded, I'm still here to complete side of behaviors.
Yeah.
Okay, we have him here already.
Yes. So,
hello,
Mr. Fred,
doctor.
Good evening.
No, I'm not doctor.
Okay, this is not Dr. Fred. Dr. Fred is still here to join us. All right, thank you. You're welcome. We still have comments, sir. You want to make a contribution?
Yes, I want to make a contribution regarding mental health in the workplace. I plan to share the experience of a friend of mine where we are working together in the manufacturing sector. Though the guy is a young man like me, so we talk and just a lot. So the guy had issues with his boss, his direct report boss. So the guy joined the firm. 3 months after the guy joined the firm, the boss started having insecurity issues regarding his job. And it's after a while, so when the letter for confirmation comes, because the guy was very effective on the job, and then so the boss did not confirm him. So before that time, based on our conversation, the supervisors, they are telling his manager that he should be careful of that guy, because the guy is doing his job so that they can sack the manager and then make him the best manager. Maybe because the guy is young. So there has been tussle. So most times this guy beat protocol, just to make that his voice is heard in the company. Sometimes the guy will send a mail regarding their department mental issue and copy some top management in the mail. The boss will just only get angry and nothing will be done. So the guy receives bullies most times from his boss, threats and some cases the man has also told him verbally that I know your eyes is on my seat, that all your plans, because yes now. He told me everything. He called him. That was less than 6 months to the job. He said, I know your eyes is on my seat. I know. So because if organization could have a department that handle situations like that, because ever since that time, so the boy has been getting it right. The guy has been getting it right ever since him and his boss began to have issues. There is nothing the guy did that is right again in his side. There is issue of
negativism.
Yes, there is. There is issue of of course they do training, and the training they have been doing has mostly been analog, paper wise. So it changed the whole thing to PowerPoint. So based on what he said at the first.
So please, engineer,
I think
because of time, let's help us round it up because we are supposed to spend 30 minutes here.
Can you hear me?
So, yes, hello, I can hear you. Okay. Can I proceed?
I think you described one coping mechanism the boss was just exhibiting, which was affecting the guy, and that's negativism. You find this among bosses, supervisors, a lot. The first reaction they get to any idea or any suggestions you make, just because they have their own inner insecurities they're fighting with. The first thing they want to do is to reject and make it look impossible, like that idea is impossible. When you understand that, that I think the first solution to any issues you're having when it comes to behavioral issues, behavior of someone else in the workplace, is to understand where they are coming from. And that's the essence of this topic. Now, this is the first part. You might not get so much if you focus on this, just this series, just this today's part that we're having, because this is the first part of a lot of series on behavior in the workplace. You know, this first part is understanding, you know, why people exhibit the kind of behaviors that they exhibit. It might just be that it's just a coping mechanism, trying to cope with some stressors that they are having. Might be stressors with insecurities. Insecurity is also a stressor. Even they might be on top, they might be our supervisor, they might be our boss, but they might not be totally satisfied with their job. They might be experiencing lack of job satisfaction. And instead of dealing with it, they are now exhibiting behaviors that are now affecting other people at work. So like what you're saying now, the boss
we
is
have a comment here.
kind of
Someone make a comment here.
Pushing away ideas. Yes.
Can you hear me, Ms. Bunmi, please? Let us try to work with time. We don't want to extend the time too much. You know, you still have a lot of things to say. So we have someone making a comment here saying abnormal behavior doesn't mean the negative response towards an event. It's when a negative behavior becomes a norm. I think that is what my colleague said at the beginning. If you join us, we said that when you behave in a particular way for once or twice, you can't tag that as abnormal behavior. But if it becomes something that you do frequently and it's become part of you, then it has become an abnormal behavior. I think based on what our colleague has said. Thanks for your input. Engineer Dansaki, I know you very well.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for your input also. We appreciate you. Please, we also want another person to join us on the live session. Dr. Frederick, if you are available, please kindly indicate.
I can see another comment here. Someone said, I'm coming, I'm trying to get it. I think it's from Goke Banks. He mentioned something. He said, what is abnormal to one might not be abnormal to the other person. I think I would like us to deal with this. You know, that's why we use the word abnormal, and we use the word normal, and we use the word perfect. Now, there's no people have different behaviors. We all have different behaviors. I don't behave exactly the way Waliyu behaves. I don't react to situations exactly the way Waliyu reacts to situations, but there are standards. There are standards of how people should behave. And Waliyu was able to talk about those characteristics, although I would have loved him to say it in an exhaustive way, because there are clusters of actions that you show that makes you to, you know, that characterizes a normal behavior, that cluster of actions. And there are cluster of actions you show, which is on the opposite, that characterizes an abnormal behavior. So, you know, it's not about how you react to situations. I think Goke Banks isn't that looks as if they are talking about someone reacting to situation. No, it's like what Fezzy Blaze said when he said, it is not about how you reacting negatively to situations. It's about that particular behavior becoming part of you, becoming a norm. So really, you can identify an abnormal behavior when it becomes a norm in the workplace and when it's affecting productivity.
Yeah, so we have another input here. Yeah, someone said behavioral-based safety is very important. It all boils down to safety culture and compliance. And I think that we need to emphasize on the fact that no matter the kind of behavior, we said what is an abnormal behavior here in Nigeria can be a normal behavior to someone else. What is abnormal in Nigeria here can be normal in another country. I gave example of, for example, in these Arab countries, you will see them when they are going to work, even on the construction site, you see them on jalabia, they put on adat on jalabia, but if they're not here in this part of the country in Nigeria, you will see that's an abnormal behavior. So many things will define what abnormal or normal behavior is. But there's a general characteristic that irrespective of where you are, there's a general characteristics that covers everyone. And I think you have mentioned it in the first time of our discussion. So, Dr. Zantaki, we would like you to click on the exit button so that someone else can join. I really want us to manage time. We still have we can't exhaust everything today. Let us just pinpoint what we want to discuss and let's summarize it. So, please, Mrs. Bunmi. So, while I complete my aspect on the general characteristics of a normal behavior, then you complete it. You complete the discussion on the behavioral defense mechanism. So, I've mentioned 3 of those general characteristics. I've talked about having cause and effect. I've talked about perception of reality in such a way that the person know who he is, and also is motivational and purposeful and is in control of himself and his environment. He has control over himself and he has control over his environment. And another one that I would like to mention now is that he is capable of changing his actions as the situation requires. Is capable, someone what you can call a normal behavior, someone who understands that there is need for him to change his action based on what is happening as the situation requires. I give an example of a fire outbreak. Let's say there's a fire outbreak now. Normally, if there's a fire outbreak, what everybody should do is to immediately your hormonal level will increase. I forgot the name of the enzyme that is secreted. Your hormonal level will increase, and you start to run. You start to move towards safety. So imagine there's a fire outbreak and there's call of fire, and someone is seated dancing and laughing alone and dancing alone. Then you know that yes, at that particular point in time, the situation requires that you should stand up and move towards maybe the muster point or move to a place of safety. But the person sat down there and started laughing and making fun, and it's a real fire. So if that person is behaving in that way, no matter what, you can't tell us that the person still has a normal characteristics, because that is obviously an abnormal behavior. And the final one says that the person should have plan. When we say characteristics of something, part of those things that makes up something. So the final one that we're talking about is the ability for the person to have plan for his life. Making life plans. Most of us do that. We have life plans. We have 5 years plan, 2 years plan. You want to have a home. You want to have a family. You want to have a child. You want to have 2 cute kids, 3 kids. You want to do this. You want to assist your siblings. You have plans for your life and for the future. Having this kind of plan, it also tells us that yes, this is a characteristic of a normal behavior. This is what a normal person should do. A normal person should think about the future. A normal person should think about his life. A normal person should change his behavior based on the requirement of a situation, like I mentioned. A normal person should understand cause and effect. If I should shoot someone, the person is going to die. A mad person on the street can shoot someone and will be laughing because he doesn't understand the effect of what he's doing. So another one is perception of reality. Exactly. Someone who is so what we are saying here is that irrespective of the kind of behaviors, because you can't term one as normal or abnormal, because we live in a world with different understanding, different background, different cultures. But it's those characteristics that you use to identify what a normal and an abnormal behavior is. And I've been able to mention 5 of those characteristics. So I want my colleague to conclude the part by discussing with us what the end by completing the session of those behavioral mechanisms that she has been highlighting. And if you have someone who wants to join us live, we will also still accept one more person to join us live on this session. So Mrs. Bunmi, over to you.
Okay, so I'll quickly run what I have mentioned before for the purpose of those that just joined us. Coping mechanisms, defense mechanism, they're like shock absorber. That's the way to explain it, that we discharge daily to absorb the mental stress that we feel, or those stressors, those things around us that can affect us, that can even lead to mental health issues. So instead of those things leading to mental health issues, we take on those defense mechanisms and we use them. They can be positive, they can be negative. If we use them over time, even when in situations that does not warrant it, then it can become an abnormal behavior. I've mentioned denial of reality. People deny reality just to feel good. Momentary feeling good, momentary, happiness. Rationalization, we all do it, trying to reduce the effect of the thing. It's not that deep. Fantasy, daydreaming, thinking they are the president of Nigeria, or thinking you are the CEO of your organization because it's something you wanted to attain, but you've not attained it. Then we've also, I also spoke about negativism, this English language, negativism, based on what Doctor, contributed. He was talking about a boss that was constantly pushing away someone else's idea because he felt threatened.
No, it's
so
not.
People do that when you feel threatened.
an engineer. He's not a doctor. Dr. Fred hasn't joined us live, but
Sorry.
he's here, but he hasn't joined us on the live video. But the person that just finished talking now is the engineer Dansaki.
An engineer.
Yeah.
Dansaki, okay. So constantly pushing, ideas away just because, he feels threatened, he feels insecure, So that's negativism. It's always in the negative part of ideas. It's a way of, coping with their insecurities and still living, among people. And when it becomes a behavior that you exhibit, even when it is not needed, I don't even think negativism is needed in anywhere in the workplace. It's not productive. If you're a negative person, you can't be productive. You can't allow innovation and creativity in the workplace, which is what drives growth. Then repression.
Right.
Repression is like a deliberate, an intentional forgetfulness, having a selective forgetfulness of a threatening and painful thoughts and desires. Take, for example, something has happened to you. You just heard the bad news and you need to do something. You need to be productive at something that you are doing at the moment. People exhibit that kind of coping mechanism. They just blot it out of their mind and continue with what they are doing. So it's a kind of coping mechanism. For people that are around that person at that moment, they feel it's not normal. But yeah, that is the way he's able to cope with that particular bad news that just came to him and still be productive. But if that happens for a very long time and he's still in that forgetfulness, it might need to be checked, because that is now tilting towards an abnormal behavior, because something has actually happened and you need to react to it. Remember what Walieyullah said about characteristics of a normal behavior. You need to react to your environment in a particular, the way you're expected to react, the way a normal person should react. And then projector. Projector is also another kind of coping mechanism that people display. Like you saying, you are the one that has the negative or whatever unpleasant attitude that you have it, and then you keep seeing it in other people. It's like projecting yourself in others. It's a kind of shielding yourself away from people assessing you. People exhibit that on certain tasks, even at work. You make mistakes, you want to deflect it on another person, that you're actually the person that keeps making these mistakes. You're actually the person that, has this gap in knowledge, and you have that gap in knowledge. It's a way of coping with the insecurities you feel at that particular point in time. We also have conversion. An individual has emotional conflict, which is expressed in muscular or sensory way. It's just like you getting an headache on a job. The headache is not a medical health issue. It's probably because of some kind of, your boss just gave you some tasks that you don't understand or you don't comprehend, and he has not given you, he has not made it very easy for you, giving you not be able to explain to you or something, and then you feel some kind of headache. Yes, so you have converted it to an health issue, a medical health issue. So we also have displacement. Displacement is like
Mrs. Bunmi, you finish the whole thing today. You want to finish everything today?
It's like
the time, we need to work with time. You need to finish everything today.
I think I'm able to talk about a lot of defense mechanism, and a lot of us listening, you have been able to identify one or two that you displayed at one time or the other at work. And you've also been able to identify one or two that someone else keep displaying to you at work. Now, let's go into that discussion. Maybe you should entertain one or two persons to pass a comment, ask questions.
We have a comment here. We have a comment here.
Yes.
Someone said there's a synergy between your perception of something and general safety culture. Personal behavior helps your perception, and your perception bridges your strength on practicing safety culture. Talking about perception, in safety, when you're talking about in terms of safety now, we'll be focusing more on what we call risk perception. What we term as risk perception when it comes to behavior is how you will feel or how someone else will react to the way you respond to them or you discuss with them, or how someone will react to a particular behavior or to something you do. Sometimes there are some kind of people that they don't have that perception of the other person. Like, if I should say this, hope this person is not going to feel hurt. They don't care. They don't have it in their mind, that risk perception of, hope this person is not going to see me as an enemy. Hope you are not going to create enmity. You see, in the workplace, the overall goals of a workplace is productivity. And part of the element that could lead to productivity is having a perfect team. And when we're talking about perfect team, it has to do with individuals coming together to achieve a particular goal. So if in individuals, there are elements that can that could foster the what's it called, the synergy, like you said, that could foster the synergy that could improve workplace productivity. So if we fail to understand that individual behaviors matters a lot, and their risk perception, like you said, can affect their, they can either strengthen or weaken the safety culture. If someone has a very good high risk perception, it's also a good way to ensure good safety culture. But if someone has a low perception of what other people or the reaction of other people to whatever it does, definitely that kind of low risk perception will definitely lower the safety culture. So the purpose of everything is to have a formidable team that we can achieve the goals. And we understand that behaviors of individuals will affect the team, and that team will affect productivity. So at the end of the day, it still boils down to understanding individual behaviors and the way individual behaves. So when you understand these behaviors, definitely you as a person, you will be able to know how to cope with this behavior. And you as a person, you'll be able to realize your kind of behaviors, and you'll be able to change your behaviors, because attitude can always be changed. Also, to buttress my point is, to complete my point is the issue of what my colleague was saying, defense mechanisms. There are ways we try to defend ourselves, and we are not doing it deliberately. And it's not that these defense mechanisms are negative. It's not that maybe they are bad, no. But some of them are actually not good, while some of them are good. So when we realize this, we will be able to blend and understand ourselves as a team and build a formidable team that could actually promote productivity in the workplace. So I want my colleague, Mrs. Bunmi Jasmine, to end this session for today. If you have anyone that wants to join, please, we still have a few minutes for you to join. Please, you can still join us. Only one person more that we need to join us. Aside from that, I want my colleague to please conclude the session.
Okay, so for the purpose of those that joined us towards the end of the session, I will just do like a wrap up, and I'll wait for anyone who wants to join. I will give like, I think we have like 5 to 6 minutes to play with. So I will leave that, I will use that to wait for anyone who wants to join us to say 1 or 2 things. Okay, so in this session on coping with different behaviors at work, which is our comeback series on our workers' mental health and safety series, we spoke about we spoke about behaviors, stressors that lead to the different way we behave, that affect the different way we behave, different stressors, environmental, family, workplace stressors. We spoke about all of that. And then my colleague went ahead to talk about the different characteristics of a normal behavior. That if you want to say someone is normal, how do you know someone is normal? And when someone begins to behave abnormal, what are those general characteristics that makes you to classify this person as being abnormal? And he also noted in the course of it that, you know, our society, where you find yourself, affects, you know, the way you behave. There are certain expectations for every culture and every society. The most important thing for you, for us to be able to know, you know, if someone is behaving normally, is to, you know, if that person has that characteristic, to be able to identify that in the first place and know who you are and be able to adapt, you know, their behavior to the expectation of that environment, know when to switch to, you know, behaving in a certain way. So those are you mentioned different characteristics. I think there were about 5 of them. And then I also went ahead to talk about coping mechanism. Also, I want you to note that this session is going to be recorded. You'll be able to view it on YouTube. So if you came in late, you'll be able to see it on Safety Moments with Walieyullah on YouTube. So talking about coping mechanism, I talked about different kind of coping mechanism we all exhibit. I'm sure we can all relate with it. At some point in our lives, we exhibited this coping mechanism. Some are really very good for the moment, while some, in fact, I would say one particular one, that one on negativism, you know, pushing away good ideas, that is really bad. I don't think anyone should take that as a coping mechanism. It's negative as the name comes. You know, for the others, I think sometimes we exhibit it over a short period of time, as long as it does not become the norm. when you're not denying reality and it becomes the norm, like you deny that particular reality all throughout life, that becomes an abnormal behavior. So those coping defense mechanism we talked about a lot of them, and if you were not if you didn't have the opportunity to join or to listen to it, you can listen to the recorded part of the session on YouTube. So that is all about it today. I haven't received any invitation to be in the live. I don't know if there are more questions. I don't think so. We had a lot of people that joined in. Instagram will give you some numbers. That number is ridiculous. I tell you. I think the people that have joined in on this live, they are like ×3 of the figure I'm seeing on this Instagram live, because I've been seeing people coming in and all that.
We have a question here. What are the means to correct an organization that has low mental health, low mental safety practice? I think this will be a different discussion on another day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's a different discussion on another day. And it's a very lengthy one. There are steps and management practices to put in place and establish systems in place that could help in ensuring that the mental health and safety of workers are being considered. They should understand that. We now have ISO 45003 that also talks about psychological mental health or something. So it's part of the system that they need to realize that mental health is even more important than physical health. It's the duty of the safety person in the organization to learn, seek knowledge and understand these things and know how to convince this organization, putting data in place, doing research and presenting it to the organization. I think they'll be able to know better. Another one says, defensive mechanism must be managed properly to enable proper risk perception. Yes, Mrs. Parkinson Olagold, thank you. You've been contributing since morning, and I think you deserve an award or something. You deserve an award. You've been contributing since morning.
I used to promise an award in previous
I think we'll go back to our gift session. Yeah, I think we'll need to go back to our gift session that we used to give then. Yeah, so that would.
And those days we were announcing gifts frequently, and we didn't really get a beneficiary.
I don't know where we can meet, but if she's available, I'll be giving her one of my is it clear? Wow. My notepad, my jotter, a jotter, and I'll also be giving her a pen. Okay, let me bring the other pen.